Let's start with the prayers. Om Bhadram Karnebhi Shrunuyama Devaha Bhadram Pashe Makshabhiryajatraha Stirairangaihi Stuštuvagum Sastanobihi Vyashema Devahitam Yadayuho Swasti na Indro Vriddhasravaha Swasti na Pusha Vishwavedaha Swasti nastakshorarishthanemihi Swasti no Brihaspatir Dadatu Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Mandukya Upanishad is our topic for study. Whenever we talk about Vedanta, we discuss three topics: jeeva, jagat, and Ishwara. The entire secret of these three topics lies in one consciousness principle, which is thuriyam. That is what this Upanishad is trying to reveal. There is an awareness principle which I am not today aware of. This consciousness is the secret behind the jeeva, the world jagat, and the creator Ishwara. Our entire spiritual journey is a journey of which starts with the ego self. Who am I? And it ends when I come to know that this ego self, which I think I have been throughout my life, which parades as the real self, I learn to understand that this ego self is not the real self. The real self is this thuriyam awareness consciousness. This consciousness is a Sakshi. It's a witness. It's an impersonal witness. It exists by itself. It doesn't have a body to connect to. It doesn't have a mind to connect to. It is not a doer. It is not a enjoyer. At the same time, it is Purnaha. This is a new revelation which this Upanishad tries to bring it out. Normally, the connection between atma, the pure awareness, and the body, the connection is brought about by the mind. Atma, the pure consciousness, exists by itself. The body is matter principle, jadam, inert. What connects this consciousness to this inert body? That is the mind. And what is this consciousness or witness? This consciousness or witness is a witness to every experiencer and every experienced object. It is a witness to both. Experiencer is the mind, experienced is the world of objects. And consciousness is a witness in all the experiencer and experienced activities. Consciousness is the witness. To bring home this point, the Upanishad takes the analysis of the three ego states. The waker I is an ego connected with the gross body. The dreamer I is an ego state connected with the subtle body. The same ego state is connected with the sleeper also. Instead of constantly identifying myself as the ego I in every experiencer and experienced duality, I learn to understand, I learn to identify myself as the witness. This is a very important teaching of the Upanishad. Every time I am experiencing something, this is practical, it is possible for all of us. Experiencer is basically the ego I, connected to the sense organs and the sense objects. Pure consciousness is on the other side. So every time we can, suppose I am experiencing or listening to the class, we can right now say, I am a witness. My ears are listening to the class, and I am a pure awareness principle. The more we train ourselves in this direction, a time will come then the whole state of consciousness, the waking state itself, becomes an object of this awareness principle. All the time I'm aware. That is my real state. Whether I'm experiencing the mind or not experiencing the mind. Whenever we have a mindless state, even in the waking state, there are many times when the mind is not projecting thoughts, but I am there. That is the right moment for us to know our real nature. The sense organs are open. They are perceiving the objects. That is what is called as nature, prakriti. When it is the mind which comes and says, oh, I am seeing, that is called as the ego. I want you to understand this ego factor very, very well, because if you understand this, you're able to identify this ego, then the whole Upanishad becomes very simple. Because in the whole waking state, I am the waker I, which is an ego state. Throughout the waking state, it says I am experiencing this, 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 this. So I become the experiencer and I am experiencing the objects. When this interaction is going on in duality, I learn to understand I am the consciousness. This consciousness is not a doer. The ego is the doer. The ego is the enjoyer. It is enjoying the world of objects and beings. I am a silent witness, not at all connected with the body or the mind. So with this short introduction, let me go back to where we stopped last week. We were supposed to start the seventh mantra. Before this seventh mantra, I want to round up all the 6 mantras which we have studied. The first mantra, this is just a quick summary of the 6 verses so that we can understand the central verse of this Upanishad very clearly. Before we come to the 7th verse, we must know the 6 steps. Very, very critical, because only when you understand the 6 steps, you will know what exactly we are talking about in the 7th step. In the first mantra, in the first verse, the Upanishad said Om is time and timeless principle. The word Om. So it just gave us a glimpse of how to see the reality. Om represents the sound Om and also the silence Om. Manifest sound, unmanifest sound. That is what is the sound and silence. Manifest sound represents all the kshetram, the entire field of objects, which is names and forms only. It is the sound represents all the names and forms, sounds, taste, colors, all everything, which is called as the field of experience. And always we remember that this field comes to us in time and also in timeless. Because in time we are experiencing the waking state, in time we are experiencing the dream state, and without time we are in the sleep state. So all the 3 states are covered by this Omkara, the word Om. In the second mantra, the Upanishads reveals this Om is a name. It belongs to what substance? That substance is revealed as Brahman. That substance which reveals Omkara is revealed as Brahman or consciousness. And then it declares a statement which is called as Mahavakya. This Atma is Brahman. I am Atma, Brahma. That means the consciousness which is in this body is the consciousness everywhere in the cosmos. Very, very profound statement. One can contemplate and reach one's core personality by remembering this second verse. That's why it's called as Mahavakyam, Jeeva Brahma Aikyam. Oneness between the Jeeva and the totality. So don't forget, we are talking about consciousness which is between the body and it is between the body and the Atma, which is this consciousness is the witness, and the one which connects both of them is the mind. So I have to use the mind to know what this consciousness, the Sakshi of the mind. So this was the first 2 verses. The third verse goes into the aspect of our ego. Ego means I. This I exists in the waking state, sleep state, dream state. The third verse describes the waking state. And specifically, it says that the total consciousness, which is called as Virat, is the consciousness which is in the entire universe. Vishwa is a name given to the individual self. Virat is the name given to the total self, which is consciousness only. The consciousness which is aware of the body and the mind at an individual level is named as Vishwa. The same consciousness, when it is aware of the whole universe, is called as the Virat. Verse number 4 describes the dream state. Now, 3 states are going to be described: waking, dream, and sleep. So the dream state, what is that state? In the dream state, it is consciousness which is the enjoyer of the internal world. In the third verse, it was the consciousness which was the enjoyer of the external world. I use the term enjoyer because it connects with the body and mind. Whenever the consciousness gets attached to the body and mind, then it becomes an enjoyer. So in the dream world, what happens? It is Taijasa. The individual self is experiencing a total dream world. So the consciousness in the entire dream world is called as Hiranyagarbha. It's a totality of all the minds put together and all the worlds which the mind enjoys, the total mind. That is called as Hiranyagarbha. That is the mind of the Ishwara. That means the individual mind is not separate. It is a part and parcel of the total mind. Remember this very, very important factor. The individual self in the earlier one, the Vishwa, depends on the Virat. The individual self in dream state, Taijasa, depends on the Hiranyagarbha. They are not two separate. They are dependent. But then we come to the sleep state. In the sleep state, what happens? Very important point. Unified, undifferentiated, homogeneous mass of consciousness. That means this consciousness is there, but it is one consciousness, homogeneous consciousness. Why? Because the world has dropped. There is no more world of the dream or no more world of the waking. Everything comes into unmanifest state, that is called as the sleep state. And then here in the 5th mantra, the name given to the individual in sleep is called as prajna, and the total principle which is involved in the sleep state is called as Ishwara. It is the unmanifest condition of both the waking and dream states. This is the seed state. It is the seed state. It is the cause. It is the doorway. For what? For the two states. It is a causal body, causal prapancha. So deep understanding of the 3 states is what this whole Upanishad is. Very deep analysis, very, very deep. You can never imagine at what depth they can go. Especially when you do the Karikas, the commentary of Gaudapadacharya, you will be amazed at the depth of this Upanishad. I am just skirting through the superficial points which are there in these mantras. But a very deep analysis is done by commentators, sub-commentators, and all that. Verse number 6 gives us a very important point, that There is a principle, there is this consciousness principle, which is the Ishwara, and it describes what is the role of Ishwara. Many times we go to a temple and we don't know, we just see a idol and we pray to the idol to fulfill our desires. But what is that idol representing? That is what is described in the sixth mantra. Ishvara is the cause of manifestation and manifestation of the entire universe. And this is that Ishvara I merge every night with when I am sleeping. But I am not aware of this because of ignorance. I don't know. Nobody has taught me this. It is the Upanishad which comes and reveals to us that the ego, has become one with the Ishvara in the sleep state. I merge. Every night I merge. Every night I see the dissolution of the universe. It is almost like seeing our own death. And that is the nature of Ishvara. And what is that principle? It is the inner controller, inner ruler. And all the knowledge, all the power which exists in the universe is there in this Ishvara, in an unmanifest potential form. And it says very clearly that this Ishvara is the source of creation and also the resolution ground for the universe. This is what we have learned so far. In the seventh mantra, what we are going to study today is what is called as thuriyam. We must know exactly what we are meaning by thuriyam. I am a jeeva. I identify myself with the body and the mind, and I become the ego. This is one side of my coin. The second side of my coin is there is a witness of this jivatvam. That is called as jeeva sakshi, which is that atma which I was talking to you about. So this ego realizes that it is not the ego, but it is that jiva recognizes it is not the ego which is masquerading or parading as the self, but it is the sakshi. Sakshi means my own nature without being involved with the body and mind. That is my real nature. Every moment I can realize this. Every time a thought comes in my mind, immediately a flash should come to me. I am aware of the thought. I am the awareness principle. Now the ego wants to experience the world. It suddenly wants to see the world of forms, colors, sounds. It wants to eat food. It wants to do so many activities. It is the ego. Always the ego wants to do. That is the nature of the body and mind. Ego is a state of the mind. It is a conditioning of the mind. And in this seventh mantra, the jiva sakshi and the Ishwara also has got the conditioning of attaching to the entire universe, and there is a sakshi principle for Ishwara also. Ishwara sakshi, jiva sakshi. There are two sakshis. What the Upanishad says is that at the sakshi level, at the witness level, there is no duality. Duality means it is just one principle which is called as consciousness awareness. That name given to the consciousness, then it exists alone without the sakshyam. Sakshi is a name given to the consciousness when the world comes. The waking world comes, I become the Sakshi. When the waking world is not there, as in sleep, what happens? There is no Sakshi name, because there is no Sakshyam. There is no object to be, there is no experienced object. So the status of this consciousness of a Sakshi goes away. This is what is the critical point we must be very clear. It is the same consciousness which is a witness of the whole universe, and it becomes the thuriyam when there is no world to reveal. This thuriyam is called as Brahman, and this is what is described in the seventh mantra. This is the pure nature of consciousness without any objects. And Upanishads usually use mainly the negative language, neti neti. And sometimes they give you some indicators of the positive aspects of this nirguna atma, without any gunas. So here what it says is, this pure consciousness is not conscious of the internal world. That is how it starts. It says it is not conscious of the internal world. Internal world means what? The dream world. Then it says it is not conscious of the external world, which is the waking state. And it is not a mass of undifferentiated consciousness, which is what? The sleep state. So it drops the three ego states of consciousness, and it says it is not that. The thuriyam, the pure consciousness, is not the three conditionings of the mind. That is the first point about thuriyam. We'll see all this description in detail. I'm just giving you a summary so that you know what we are entering and what is this thuriyam. This thuriyam, this pure consciousness or awareness, is not perceived by the sense organs. You cannot say, I saw consciousness, I heard consciousness. No, cannot. Then it says it is beyond all the dealings. Avyavaharyam, that is the word it uses. There is no, in vyavahara, in dealings, it doesn't get involved at all. It is incomprehensible to the mind, unthinkable. When you listen to all this, all this description, you may come to a conclusion, does it really exist? In order for you, so the Upanishad knows this, that, when it cannot be perceived, it cannot be thought by the mind, it is not understood by the mind, it is beyond everything what I know. What I know, what I don't know, it is beyond all that. So, but is there anything like that? Then it says, yes, it is Eka Atma, one Atma. Shantam, which means peaceful. This is the absolute peace which we are all searching for. We are not happy with the relative peace in the world. We are searching all the time. Our goal is this Shanti, the Shanti of Atma. Every seeker is always searching for this peace. And here the Upanishad says that nature, my own nature is this. That means my swarupam, like the swarupa of fire is heat, my own nature, when the jiva's nature is not that ego I, it is this pure awareness which is ever peaceful. And it is possible for us to realize this. That is why I said the moment we start, first of all, we understand this consciousness clearly. Once you have understood the principle of consciousness awareness, try to put it in practice on a daily basis and try to grow into this awareness. That is how the teachers explain to us that it is possible to grow out of the ego consciousness and move into pure self, which is auspicious, which is Shivam and Advaitam. Advaitam means there is no two consciousness, there is only one consciousness. This consciousness is what we are going to study in the whole of 7th mantra, the central verse of the 12 mantras of this Upanishad. I have brought two verses from Advaita Upanishad to emphasize and drill in the mind, what is this consciousness? Advaita Upanishad is another very important Upanishad, because another Mahavakya comes in that. And there, the Guru is trying to explain this consciousness. The Mahamantra in Advaita Upanishad, as you all know, is Prajnanam Brahma. And here, how does the Upanishad describes this consciousness? I want you to just have a glimpse before we go to the mantra, the 7th mantra. Here, it says that which is known as the heart. This mind is supposed to be the heart. But the heart of this mind is what? Consciousness. It is not perception. It is not wisdom of or understanding. It is not knowledge. It is not intelligence. It is not the memory capacity. It is not a thought. It is not a thought of depression or joy. It is not a recollection of imaginations. It is not ambition. It is not love. These are all names of consciousness, which is called as prajnanam. What it really means, these are all the thoughts which we have. The mind expresses in these forms. When the mind expresses this, it is manifesting that consciousness. That is how we have to understand. In the next mantra of the same Upanishad, it says, this is Brahman, this is Indra, this is the creator, Prajapati. This is the whole, this is the crux of the whole creation. What? This consciousness. This is again the God of gods, which means it is the God of all the elements. It controls all the elements. Earlier we saw Ishwara is the controller, inner controller, Antaryami in the 6th mantra. That is what is again repeated here. That this pure consciousness, prajnanam, is the ultimate in the entire creation. It is nirgunam, and it is the life behind all types of lives, whether it is egg born, womb born, sweat born, earth born, which means the trees, plants, cattle, men, animals, birds, everything. the what is one life force behind all this. There is one life force, only one life force. That life force is called as consciousness. It says in this mantra very beautifully, it says it is the guide, all this, what we see as the life, living creatures in this universe, they're all guided and supported by this consciousness. It is the I. This is the I. This is what is the life force, universal life force. Consciousness is the basis of all, and this consciousness is Brahman. Prajnanam Brahma. If you see the last sentence, Prajnanam Brahma. This is the Mahavakya. I want you to connect the Thuriyam with this mantra, because then only you will understand that universal life force which we are talking about is described in the 7th mantra of Mandukya. So with this background, now we will enter the 7th mantra. Nanta prajnam na bahish prajnam, no bhaya prajnam na prajnana ghanam, na prajnam. Then it says adrishtam avyava. These are all the descriptions. First was, it was saying that it is not the consciousness of the internal world, external world, which we saw just now. Then it is telling us the different other indicators of this consciousness. What are these? Adrishtam, avyavaharyam, agrahyam, alakshanam, achintyam, avyapadeshyam, ekatma pratyasaram. Now till avyapadesham is the negations. And now the positive indicators are given. Ekatma pratyasaram. Prapancho upasamam, shantam, shivam, advaitam, chaturtham manyante sa atma sa vigneyaha. This is the heart of the whole Upanishad. It tells us that there is a consciousness, awareness, which each one of us must realize as our own Swarupam, real nature. I must learn to drop the ego I as my nature. Today, the problem with all of us is we think we are the body, like the Charvakas. Charvaka means the people who take the body is the final. There is nothing else beyond the body. The body is me, the body is Atma. That is one extreme philosophy. The second principle is, another philosophy is that mind is Atma. I don't care about this body, but the mind is Atma. I will do certain actions in this world, some rituals, some punyam I will do, and then I will enjoy another body in heaven, and that body is Nityam. That is the second principle, which is the Purva Mimamsaka principle, the second philosopher. One takes the body as the Atma, another takes another body in the heaven as the Atma, so that, and that is moksha for them. Both are wrong. What this Upanishad clearly says is, moksha is here and now. Right now, if I realize I am the pure consciousness, I learn to drop the ego which is attached to the body. Anytime the ego means the mind is there, body is there. That is the ego. That is what we call as the waker I, the dreamer I, and the sleeper I. Let it be grilled into our minds very clearly that this ego, through this ego only, I work throughout my waking state. I, but in this waking state itself, I must, with this knowledge of Sakshi, or the knowledge, that is what I can do at this level. I can be a Sakshi of my own mind. Every time the mind is doing some mischief or it's working on something to its, see, the mind's basic problem is desire and fear. These are the two basic root problem for samsara. I want something in life because I don't know my nature. I'm ignorant about my fullness. Therefore, I want to enjoy the world of objects, something in the world I want to go after, or I run away from. Aversion or raga, attachment or aversion. That is, our whole life is full of this, nothing else. You can study our whole life. It is either attachment to certain things in life, in certain objects, things in life, or away from. I want to be away from certain things. And I spend my whole life behind this, like this. Because I am thinking I am the mind. That is the problem. I am in the body. Body is not me. Okay, I understand. Because the body is growing old and it passes away. Okay, fine. But the mind, yes, yes. I am that mind. Here the Upanishad says you are not the mind. You are the Sakshi of the mind. That is the revelation of Mandukya Upanishad. Very, very clear, directly to the point. It attacks, the Mandukya Upanishad is so famous because it is directly revealing the self to us. And each one of us can know this, can realize this. That is what is called a self-realization. And that self is called as thuriyam. Turiyam means the fourth. It is actually not the fourth, but it is a common element, common substance which is there in all the three states. I am aware of the waking state. I am aware of the dream state. I am the awareness which is knowing the sleep state. All the three are known by this pure consciousness. When they are known, the states are known, it is called as Sakshi. When the states are not known, it is not attached to the three states, it is not revealing the three states, then it gets a new name. That new name of Sakshi is Turiyam. It is the essential nature of all of us. It is free from all attributes. Nirgunam. It is without any gunas. For all those who have studied the Bhagavad Gita, if you recall the 14th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, it is describing the same Turiyam in the 14th chapter as Gunatita Atma. Gunatita means without any, beyond the three gunas. The three gunas are basically Prakriti, which is what the whole universe is. All actions done in the world are also Prakriti. It is nature, which is Rajoguna. All actions, whether my hand is moving, the legs are walking, these are all Prakriti. But the awareness which is aware, I am aware that my mouth is speaking. When I don't have this distance between the awareness and the mind, then I become an experiencer, completely immersed in the experience itself. This is our normal state before knowledge. Before knowledge, what happens? I am the ego. I am experiencer. I am the waker, and that's it. No, nothing else. I went to dream. I went to sleep. I had a dream, and that there is therefore no other knowledge I have. But after this Mandukya Upanishad, we must realize there is another factor in this body and in the universe. It is one factor which is common to both the body as well as the entire universe, which is Sakshi. It is aware. It is the knowledge principle. It is only knowing this knowledge. It is only understanding this as the Sakshi. Only understanding. There is no action involved in Sakshi. There is no karma involved. You don't have to do anything to understand the Sakshi. That's why knowledge, again and again, you must remember that karma cannot give me liberation. It is knowledge which gives me liberation. It is the knowledge of atma, the knowledge of thuriyam atma, which gives liberation, moksha, which is the central theme of entire spiritual study. Whether you study Bhagavad Gita, whether you study the Upanishad, any Upanishad, the goal should be I have to free myself from this ego, the persecution of this ego. This Upanishad teaches me, look at the whole waking state itself as an ego. Look at the whole dream state itself as the ego. And the sleep state itself as the ego. The ego means condition of the mind. And stand apart from this ego, learn to stand apart. As we learn to stand apart slowly, we become more and more, we can grow in this consciousness, we can become more and more aware of our real strength. The real strength of all of us is in this consciousness principle, because that is the ultimate. This is the mantra, this is the pramanam, which says that this is where the whole universe is rising and falling. Many negations are given here. As a person, as a human being, I am nowhere near a thuriyam or consciousness. Consciousness is not a human being. Human being or a person is because of the body. Consciousness is a separate principle, which is the illuminating principle of the entire cosmos. Shantam Shivam Amritatvam is only possible when I know I am this thuriyam I. Where will I get this peace which I'm searching for? You see, the mind is always in a state of flux, and we are all aware of it. How to go away from this mind is what is the teaching of this Upanishad. Dropping the mind, going beyond the mind. Because mind, if I'm attached to the mind, it is a normal, common behavior of all the jivas in the world, which is ajnanam. Saha atma saha vigneyaha. If you want peace or happiness or immortality, deathlessness, you should know the atma as I am atma, brahma. There is no use only knowing the jiva sakshi. You must connect it to the Brahman. You must connect it to the Ishwara principle. The jiva sakshi, Ishwara sakshi together are merged as one principle, which is called as thuriyam. So in the liberating knowledge, the focus is on this thuriyam I. Whenever a spiritual teacher is teaching a disciple, this is the ultimate teaching. Tattvamasi, I am Atma Brahma, Prajnanam Brahma, Aham Brahmasmi. These four sentences are called as Mahavakyams. And this is the last thing which the Guru teaches after Atma Anatma Viveka. Atma Anatma Viveka is the first thing. You see, we have just done the Anatma Viveka, Atma Anatma Viveka in the first 6 mantras. How did we do it? We are saying Anatma is the waker I, Anatma is the dreamer I, Anatma is the sleeper I. These are all Anatmas. And Atma is the consciousness. This is what is Atma Anatma Viveka. Then Sarvatma Bhava is coming. Sarvatma Bhava means this consciousness is the consciousness in all the bodies. Kshetrajnam chapimam vidhi. How can I know this Nirguna Thuriyam I? We know Turiyam as Saguna I in the waking, dream and sleep. Because this consciousness is itself appearing. This is where that non-dual nature must be very clearly understood. The waker I, the dreamer I, the sleeper I are coming and going in this consciousness, in this awareness. So when I shift the reference point from the waker to the thuriyam, then I can say, I am the thuriyam consciousness appearing with a dress of waker, with a body dress, with a mind dress, with a gross body and a mind, I become Vishwa. The Vishwa experiences the Virat. The same Turiyam, again, when it is with the subtle body of an individual subtle body, the mind, it experiences the dream state. The same Turiyam I is illuminating the dream world, making it known. The light in which the dream world is known, the light in which the waking world is known. And in sleep state, what happens? It is the same consciousness together with the mind which has gone to sleep. The mind is in passive condition. And there it experiences nothing. That means it is ignorant about both the worlds. The waking world and the dream world both have resolved into sleep. The sleep condition is the another. Thuriyam I itself is there in that. And this Turiyam I exists by itself. After the sleep state, what happens? There is no more Sakshi Tattvam. Because Sakshyam is gone, the objects to be revealed are not there. Then the name given to consciousness as Sakshi is dropped. And then it is Thuriyam, it is Ekatma Pratyaya Saram. Ekatma, one Atma. There is no Jeevatma, Paramatma difference anymore. Undifferentiated consciousness, pure consciousness, Nirguna consciousness, no attributes at all. In the waking state, there is an attribute. Jeeva is limited, Paramatma is limitless. But in the sleep state, in the seventh, in the Thuriyam state, all are resolved into one Thuriyam, pure consciousness. That is the revelation of Mandukya Upanishad. This is where the Jeeva Jagat Ishwara resolve. I told you in the beginning of this talk, I said, there is a secret. The secret of these three words which we are using, the secret lies in Turiyam. In this pure consciousness. Just by knowing this pure consciousness as my real nature, you will understand slowly your attachment to the body and the mind loosens. And then you become more and more aware of this thuriyam I here and now, not in heaven, not after the death of the body, or not in another world. No, it's here and now. Realize I am pure consciousness. Seventh mantra does not state that it is available only in samadhi state. See, in yoga shastra, they talk about samadhi state, which is purely a mindless state. See, what we are experiencing in the sleep state is mindless state. The same thing, people try to achieve that while waking and try to make the mind thoughtless. But this state, what we are talking, is a state which is beyond the samadhi state. It is pure consciousness, and it is the knowledge that I alone am. I've explained this also. The Nirguna Chaitanyam is the invariable factor in Vishwa, Taijasa, and Pragya. It is in and through the world, all the three worlds. At the same time, it is beyond the worlds. This is how we should understand our nature. Never try to discount the world and say nothing, nothing, nothing in the world. No, there is Atma. And how to arrive at Nirguna I from the Saguna I is how this whole mantra is designed. The mother I minus the motherhood. The motherhood is the ego, ahamkara. I am a father. I remove the fatherness from me. That means the ego I, which whenever the child is in front of me, or I think of my son or daughter, I become father or mother. So I, the pure consciousness, the pure Chaitanyam, when I'm not attached neither physically with my children, nor mentally with my children, who am I? I am not a father or a mother. I'm not a sister or a brother or any person, and I'm not a daughter. I am this pure consciousness. Very important. This is such a revelation, and it exists. You see, nobody can say that it doesn't exist, because that's our nature. You will realize this. Remove all the attributes from you. I am not Jacqueline. Then Jacqueline is a name given to me. Is given to the body. But who is behind this body? It is this consciousness. It's a very, very vital, universal life principle. That is what is thuriyam. Vaker I minus the attributes is thuriyam I, which is called as ekatma pratyaya saram. Similarly, the dreamer I without the attributes of the dream world is this thuriyam, ekatma pratyaya saram. How to remove the attributes? We need not remove the attributes physically. We have to only understand that these are attributes. Understand that the pure consciousness is always asangaha. Asangaha means it is unconnected with the body or mind. That is its nature. It can never be attached to the attributes. For example, you have a light in your room, it is illuminating your body. That light cannot take the dirt of your body because it is unattached to the body. The light which illumines the body cannot take the impurities of the body or the mind. Similarly, this witness consciousness is an illuminating principle. It is a conscious principle. Like space is unconnected, similarly, this consciousness is unconnected with whatever it is illuminating, whatever it is holding, like the screen of a TV, unaffected by all the movies which are going on. It is only knowledge that this is the nature of consciousness by which we can remove the attributes, by knowing its independent nature. And know that everything else depends on this consciousness. I, the moment you talk about that pure consciousness as I, which is beyond all the three states, it exists by itself. And the three states are mithya. Mithya means they depend on this consciousness, whereas consciousness is all by itself. Before this knowledge, I thought I was the body, I thought I was the mind. But those are all misconceptions. I have to know I am the attributeless, pure consciousness all the time, not only right now in the class, but I am always, this is my nature. And this knowledge helps me to disown the attributes and understand my pure nature. When I understand this, my ignorance gets dropped. My ignorance about my own nature is dropped. I am no longer the Vishwa, the waker I, Taijasa, the dreamer I, Prajna, the sleeper I. Vishwa to Thuriyam journey is in the form of knowledge. Ekatma Pratyaya Saram means the same Vishwa without the attributes, mentally, not physically, because we cannot remove physically anything in the world. It happens. Whatever creation, resolution, it's all happening. It's a Prakriti which is taking care of all this. Nature. Only through knowledge, I can know and I can remove the attributes and own up the pure self. This is how I learned to become thuriyam. By knowledge, I know and I claim I am thuriyam all the time. And this thuriyam, how is it described? Shantaha, peacefulness. Absolute peace, because there is no body, there is no mind, there is no sleeping world, and there is no ignorance. Very important. We all experience peace in sleep, but that is a relative peace, because it again goes away. It is not absolute peace. It is not my it is an incidental peace which I have in the sleep state, because again I wake up. But this peace of the thuriyam is the absolute peace. Shivaha, Chidananda Rupaha, Shivoham, Shivoham. Next week, we will go into each of these names and we'll try to understand what does na anta prajnam means. Na bahish prajnam, no bhayata prajnam. We will go through these names next week. And today we will stop here. It's a very, very deep Upanishad, Mandukya, and it's a very, if you can understand the ego I and learn to differentiate awareness, like I was saying in this talk, every time when we are, when we have this, when we are with our experiences, we will be able to realize that I am the awareness of the experiencer experiencing the objects. Experiencer is the ego I. It is experiencing the objects. It is, and I am someone separate. I am a witness to the All the time, whenever the ego is experiencing something, I am witness. And witnessing is my nature. That is the nature of, that is the swarupam of Atma. When there is an experiencer and the experienced, it is witness, it is called as a witness. When there is nothing in the world to experience, then it is the pure nature, deathless, without a body, without a mind. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnahat Purnamudachade Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnamevasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Okay, so we will, if there are any questions, I will answer them. So Shanmugam has unmuted everybody. If you want to ask a question, you can do so now.
Shekhar,
Yeah, Chandra.
during the dream state, is the mind still available there?
Yeah, in the dream state, the mind is projecting the vasanas. So the impressions which you have from the waking state, the mind is projecting, and it is projecting in the light of consciousness. The light which is illumining the dream world is the light of consciousness. The same light is there in the waking also, which is illumining the dream world. The same light is there in the waking world, illumining the waking world of the mind and the body. The same light is there in the sleep state, in which the mind has gone to sleep, and you feel that there is nothing. There is nothing. It's a blank state, blank experience. I don't experience anything. That is what everybody says in the sleep state. So I don't attach myself to the conditions of the mind. I say to myself, I am that pure light of consciousness. That light is called as thuriyam. That light is my real nature. I learn even in the waking state itself, I keep telling myself, I am not the ego which is doing all the actions through the body. Walking, eating, sleeping, any action, it's all actions are done by the ego, but I am that pure witness to that ego. Then we will drop our fears about life, death, any fear, you will be able to drop it. That is the beauty of this knowledge. Because the Lord is teaching us that there is a consciousness principle that is the Lord in this body. I learn to attach myself to that consciousness and I face the world. Okay, let the world come every day, morning, evening, some experiences will come. For all of us, experiences will never stop. But I will not identify with those experiences as myself. I will learn to say these are experiences of the ego, which is not the real self. It is just a passing phase for the body. The body rises every day in consciousness, again it resolves, again it rises. But if I don't have this knowledge, what will I think? I will be thinking that I am the dreamer. I dreamt. I don't know what to do with the dream. Even in the waking state, I keep on thinking, oh, yesterday was a horrible dream. How should I get rid of the dream? Shall I pray today to some other Lord to get rid of this dream? So many problems come. So even in the waking state, instead of enjoying the world, waking world, you start thinking, about all the dreams. What Upanishad teaches is drop the experiences, forget them. You had good experiences, forget it. You had bad experiences, just learn to forgive and forget. So, to answer your question directly, is in the dream world, it is the mind which is projecting the vasanas. It is a condition of the mind. Nobody can stop it. It is prakriti, that is nature of the mind. The nature of the mind is to keep on thinking. Nobody can stop the thinking. But you can say, I am not the thinker, I am the witness of the thinking process which is going on in the mind.
You become a witness.
Yes, you become a witness. You keep telling you will learn it. You see, it is a question of learning this process, and it is possible. Everybody who has learned these Upanishads and Gita, they have learned. It is all experienceable. Each one of us can experiment it and try it. And you will realize, yes, I am the Atma. You see, in this Upanishad, we are learning to drop all the attributes. Attributes means what? All the problems of the mind, all the problems of the body. Body is having pain. Yes, I can't deny the pain, but I can learn to say I am the witness of that pain. It's possible. The mind has got some problems in it. It becomes angry, it becomes joyful, it becomes it keeps on thinking about some problem out there. What you have to say is, I learn to drop being the mind. I am not the mind. The mind is, that is the nature of the mind. Like the heart, it keeps on pumping. Like we keep on breathing throughout the day. It's nature. So I learned to drop everything to Ishwara. Ishwara is the controller. So I then, this way what happens is the ego becomes diluted. The moment I dilute my ego, automatically you will learn I am that consciousness. I am that pure self. It will happen because this is the knowledge we have learned in our intellect. You see, through all these lectures for so many years, who is learning? It is this intellect which is gaining this knowledge. And it is this same intellect which will say, oh, this is what is this ego I. Each one of you try to understand this ego I. And the moment the ego I, you are able to have a little bit of distance, then this Mandukya Upanishad and the Bhagavad Gita has made a magical change in you. You yourself will say, oh, I was very worried before, but now, okay, I have got this knowledge. I'm not so worried like before. All your problems and worries becomes diluted and diluted. A day will come, you'll say, oh, it doesn't matter. That is the nature of this world. That is the nature. I learn to live with the problems and I say, I am that pure consciousness. Nobody can take this knowledge from me. I keep on telling myself, I am that pure consciousness. This is the revelation for me. It is not somewhere I have learned something, I've kept in the notes, and my intellect has been able to assimilate this knowledge and own it up. Okay, any other question?
Thank you.
Yes, I have a question, Shekhar.
Yeah, Santiago, tell me.
It's a matter of a little bit of a confusion that I have about definition. At some point you say that Sakshi is the consciousness when the waking world is.
Yes.
And then you talk about Sakshyam where there is no Sakshi at all. But the Turiya state is when the waking world is? No, the Turiya state is beyond the waking world is. So I got the confusion because you say at some point that Sakshi is Turiyam.
Okay. Okay. There are, okay. Let me clarify the first part first. Whenever we use the word Sakshi in general terms, yeah, there are two meanings of Sakshi. The name of Thuriyam itself in Mandukya Upanishad, the name of Thuriyam itself is Sakshi. So that is one context in which Sakshi is used. The second context where Sakshi is used is when there is a Sakshyam. Okay, so we are talking about two different contexts, two different meanings of Sakshi. Sakshi is a name for Turiyam in the Mandukya Upanishad. We will see in the one of the names, it will say Sakshi, Shantam, Shivam, Advaitam. There is a name given to Turiyam itself as Sakshi. That is a separate matter. That is one meaning of Sakshi. Here, the second meaning of Sakshi is whenever there is something to be revealed, when Sakshyam is there, revealed object is Sakshyam. For example, in front of a child, your own son, you are a father. So that means the fatherhood comes to you in front of the child, in front of the children, you are a father. You're speaking to your son right now. He comes and asks you something. He goes away. Now, what happens to you? Are you still a father? I'm talking about at that particular moment. That fatherhood attention is gone and you are pure awareness, consciousness. So what we say is Sakshi is with reference to Sakshyam. Sakshi is the revealer. Sakshyam is the revealed. The waker, in the waking state, the Sakshi reveals the waker I and the waking world. Sakshi is there. It is the illuminator. Sakshi, the name of Sakshi means what? It is the illuminating. The waker I is the ego. Same thing happens in dreamer also. Dreamer I is the ego I. Who is illuminating? The Sakshi. The Sakshi is the illuminating principle. Instead of saying electricity is illuminating, I'm saying Sakshi is the illuminating. That is, a consciousness is illuminating the ego. That ego in the dream state is getting revealed. So as long as there is a ego and the world, we will call this as Sakshi. But what happens when the ego world, when these three worlds are not there? When the three worlds are not there, then you are in your real state. You are no longer even a Sakshi. That is what is called as Turiyam. This is the second way in which you can arrive at the pure consciousness as Turiyam. So this is this is with reference to the this is a context with reference to how from the waking dream and the sleep state. When there is a revealed relationship, at that time I'm using the word Sakshi and Sakshyam. Till the revealed world is there, that illuminator is called as Sakshi. Because there is a Sakshyam, revealed world. When the revealed world itself is not there, the status hood, the Sakshi hood, the witness hood, the status of is gone. When the status of that consciousness being a sakshi to something is gone, being a witness to something is called, that status less nature is called as thuriyam. This is how we have to go to the core of our personality. See, I learned to drop that I am not the ego. First, I say I am not the ego, which is the waker I. Then I say I am not even the dreamer I. That is another level of my own self, and it is the level in which there is, it is, you see, it is the same I, it is the same Turiyam I, which is in all the three states. And then it comes back and reveals that it can exist by itself also. Are you clear now?
Yes, thank you very much.
Okay. Anybody else has a question? Okay, there are no questions, then we will continue next week. The seventh mantra will probably continue next week. It will give you the full descriptions now. I've given you a gist of it today, but next week we'll complete it. And then after that is the 8th to 12th mantra. Those are all simple. It will just tell us how to do meditation of Omkara. It's a simple process, and we will learn that. That will be the end of the 12 verses, which is the main topic of the whole Upanishad. It's a fairly straight, direct to the point of knowing ourselves. And like I said, let us learn to practice. And if you consciously practice, you will be able to know that consciousness now, here and now, every day. You see, the knowledge part of it, which comes from all this, is there. But when you try to practice it, it becomes very simple. You yourself will realize, oh, so simple. Experiencer is the ego at any time, and it is experiencing the experienced world. Either it is of a world of objects, beings, anything. So, but in between the experiencer and this world is this witness. And you will realize, I am the witness. I know I am experiencing. Who is the knower? That knower is this Sakshi. I know I am hungry. I know I am knowledgeable. I know I can see through my eyes. Eyes are seeing, but I know that I know, and I also know I don't know. That is the Sakshi. When you experiment it on your own self, you will realize this very easily. And then what will happen is you will grow into this awareness, consciousness principle. As you learn more and more about this Atma, basically we will get rid of all our ragas. Our desires will come down slowly, because desires belong to that ego. And fulfilling this ego, I will never get fulfilled in life, because this ego is very, very complicated. It's got a big baggage of desires, huge baggage of desires. I want this, I want that, I want this, I want that. This is a huge bag. And that is why we keep on taking birth after birth after birth. So the raga and dvesha, I learned to slowly drop by this knowledge. Once this knowledge comes into me as my nature, I become free of any fear in life. Nothing will bother me anymore. Okay, I am that pure nature, that's all. How am I always like I am in sleep state? But in the sleep state, normally there is always ignorance for a jiva. But that ignorance that I am there as a pure consciousness, that ignorance is gone, and that ajnanam, that I am just a sleeping person, is gone. And what really happens is, I am that pure nature. Even in that sleep state, I am aware. That is the depth. The depth of consciousness is in the sleep state. You become aware of your sleep state. You become aware of your dream state. You become aware of your aware means what? I know that I am the consciousness. It's only understanding, nothing else. There is now no change at all, only understanding I am the pure consciousness, and only claiming I am that pure self. Okay, thank you very much, and let's continue next week. Good night, everybody.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you. Good night.